Hey guys, alright, welcome back to, I think this is part 5 maybe. Anyway, so here I've got, I believe it's sunset yellow, just finishing up, and forgive me guys, I have a bit of a cold today, so my voice is going to sound kind of funny. Anyway, so adding a little more yellow to it, just to kind of bring up that glow effect a bit. Alright, so now I got a little lemon yellow. So forgive me guys, I've forgotten how many different shades I'm putting on here, but this one's just going to be at the very tip, the very top edge. So I'm only going to use a tiny bit, just right at the very edge. And this should be sufficient. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the tip of the plasma gun, and I'm going to use 10 bits. So basically, there's a little separation there between the gun and the nozzle or muzzle, and what I'm going to do is just cover that in 10 bits. And then I'm just going to go up from there with successive brighter shades. So I'm just being careful to try to avoid the recesses, to keep those dark. I usually like 10 bits as a base if I'm going to do anything with gold. Usually works out pretty well, I think. Kind of build your way up from 10 bits to burnished, I think it's burnished gold, I forget which one's the brightest, maybe shining gold, one of those. I use a lot of Reaper paints, but when it comes to metallics, I don't find many paints that are better than the GW metallic paints. I think they get great coverage, and they're not as chunky. Like I'll find that some are too thin and don't get enough coverage, or are too chunky, like the medium, or I don't know if medium's the right word, but basically the particulate that's suspended in the whatever it is too big, and it just kind of chunks onto the model and looks kind of like crap. When I first started painting, I actually tried to use the craft paint that you can get pretty much anywhere. You can get it at, like, if you're in the US, you can get it at like Walmart or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I'm not sure where you would find it overseas. But anyway, I did some decent paint jobs with the craft paint, but it was just too chunky. So that was well before I knew anything about Citadel paints or Reaper paints or Vallejo or anything. Alright, so here I've moved up to gold. So what I'll do is start at the tip of the weapon and work my way back until basically until the paint has, because I only put a little bit on the brush right at the tip, and then I brush it on pretty heavily at the front, and then kind of draw that back toward the 10 bits, so that it doesn't cover all the 10 bits, it just kind of blends. What I'm looking for is trying to show a little wear and tear. Basically that maybe the front is receiving a little more, it's brushing against more things, or maybe the heat from the gun, the plasma is, keeps the front end clean. Or you could do it in a reverse. You could have the 10 bits in the front and have the the gold in the back, and that would give it more of a burnt look in the front. It's really kind of up to you. I prefer the front to be a little lighter. It depends though if I'm doing like a heavy flamer or something. Alright, so now we're moving on to the burnished gold. But if I'm doing like a heavy flamer, I'll do it in a reverse order, with a brighter color closer to the back of the gun. And I'll usually have like chaos black at the front, you know, in small amounts around the muzzle to make it look a little burnt. But what I'm going to do with the brighter gold here is just kind of highlight the very end, making sure to try to stay away from the rest of it. So just kind of emphasizes that shift a little better. You get the brighter color. So I kind of try to work in threes, using one color as the base, and then have a medium shade, and then have a highlight shade. Sometimes I might go one step beyond that, and if there is a brighter color available, I'll just move up from that. So what I have here is bolt gun. What I'm going to do with the bolt gun is, at the very tip of the plasma gun, there is the I got it too close to the camera here, but at the very tip, and I'm sure you've all seen it plenty of times, there is basically the barrel, where it would appear the blast comes out of. So what I'm going to do is actually highlight that in bolt gun. Sort of makes it stand out a bit and adds just a little more detail to the front of the weapon. So you just have to be careful to make sure the bolt gun metal only stays on that raised piece. And I'll add it to the little lower piece there. I'm not really sure if that's supposed to be a barrel as well, but I didn't drill out that one. And when I say drill out, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, just take a pin vise and the smallest bit, usually the smallest bit, and drill a hole in the point that you think is the barrel. And then basically that gives it a little more realism. I used to always do that with all my bolters and bolt guns, and pretty much everything else, but I kind of got away from it like I did the basing. For whatever reason, I can't bring myself to do it. Anyway, I've got the chaos black here, and what I'm going to do now is just clean up some of the messes I've made. First thing I'm going to do is add just a touch of black to the hole, just a tiny bit. I would use a wash, but the wash would be a little harder to control in such a small space. So all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of carbon, you know, kind of like a little scorch mark there around the barrel. I know it's tedious and a tiny bit of detail, but I figured why not, you know, if somebody's looking. And I figured that the plasma gun is going to be the focal point with this model because it's stuck out so far. So I thought I would take a little more time with it and add a little more detail. I figure folks are probably going to be looking at that more than the model itself. But anyway, so now I'm just going around and cleaning up all the little mistakes that I made. You know, any place that I painted over, you know, got outside of the area that I was trying to keep the paint in. Excuse me. So that's kind of a tedious process. You know, you really want to be very careful, otherwise your cleanup can become something that requires further cleanup. So, and that happens. You know, I've found myself trying to go back and clean up a mistake, and then, you know, I have to get the base color and go back and clean that up, and then so on and so forth, and before long, you know, you're pulling your hair out and wondering how it all started. But anyway, I'm getting toward the end of the video, so we'll have to continue on the next one.